A. Write the following complex numbers in the form of a plus bi, where I squared equals minus 1. So z1 is equal to 3 plus 2i multiplied by 2 minus 5i. So we have double brackets, so what we're going to do is crack open this first set of brackets. So I like to think of it like we've got two eggs. We're going to crack open the first egg, and the 3 falls out of the first egg, and we stick on the second egg, which we did not crack open, and then the plus 2i falls out of the first egg, and again we stick on the second egg, which we did not crack open. So then we just multiply out our brackets, because brackets mean multiply. 3 multiplied by 2 is 6, 3 multiplied by minus 5i is minus 15i, plus 2i multiplied by 2 is plus 4i, plus 2i multiplied by minus 5i is minus 10i squared. So make sure you have I by I giving you I squared, very important. Bring down the 6, minus 15i plus 4i gives us minus 11i, and I squared becomes minus 1 with brackets around it. Minus 10 multiplied by minus 1 is plus 10, and 6 plus 10 is 16, and bring down the minus 11i. The real part has to come first, the imaginary part has to come second. So z1 equals 16 minus 11i. So z2 equals 5 plus 4i multiplied by 17 minus 13i minus 5 plus 3i multiplied by 17 minus 13i. So there's going to be a few ways that you can do this. I'm going to start off by multiplying out these two sets of brackets, and I'll end up getting 137 plus 3i. I'll talk through this in a second. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply in this minus. I'm going to say minus by 5 is minus 5i, and minus by 3i is minus 3i. And then I'm going to multiply that by 17 minus 13i. Then when I multiply these out, I'll end up getting minus 24 plus 14i. Again, I'll explain that in a minute. And then I'm just going to group these together. The 137 plus 3i comes down here, and the minus 124 plus 14i comes down here. And then I'm going to simplify and get z2 to be equal to 13 plus 17i. Alternatively, what I could have done was multiplied this out without the minus, and then brought the minus in at the end. And I would have then said my first answer minus whatever I got for my second answer. And again, I would have had to be careful that I subtract the real from the real and the imaginary from the imaginary. But this is the way that I've done it. So I've started off by multiplying out this set of brackets. So I'm cracking open this first egg, bringing down the 5, sticking on the second egg, bringing down the plus 4i, and again sticking on the second egg. 5 by 17 is 85. 5 by minus 13i is minus 65i. 4i by 17 is plus 68i. 4i by minus 13i is minus 52i squared. So really important that we have I squared here. I multiplied by I is I squared. I bring down the 85. Minus 65i plus 68i is plus 3i. And I squared becomes minus 1 with brackets around it. It's very, very important that we have brackets around it. Bring down the 85, bring down the plus 3i. And minus 52 multiplied by minus 1 is plus 52. Then 85 plus 52 is 137, and bring down the plus 3i. So this multiplied out to give me 137 plus 3i. So now I'm going to multiply in this minus. So minus by 5 is minus 5, and minus by plus 3i is minus 3i. And then I'm going to stick on the second set of brackets, and then I'm going to multiply all of this out. So again, I'm going to crack open this first egg, bring down the minus 5, stick on the second set of brackets, bring down the minus 3i, and again stick on the second set of brackets. So minus 5 by 17 is minus 85, minus 5 by minus 13i is plus 65i. A minus multiplied by a minus gives a plus. Careful with the minuses. Then minus 3i by 17 is minus 51i. And minus 3i by minus 13i is plus 39i squared. So minus by minus is a plus, be careful with that. and I by I is I squared. Bring down the minus 85, plus 65I minus 51I is plus 14I. And then I squared becomes minus 1 with brackets around it. Make sure you've got brackets around it. Bring down the minus 85, bring down the plus 14I, and then 39 multiplied by minus 1 is minus 39. Then minus 85 minus 39 is minus 124, and bring down the plus 14I. So then I'm going to group them together. 137 plus 3I, and minus 124 plus 14I. Then I put real with real, imaginary with imaginary. So 137 minus 124 is going to be 13, and 3I plus 14I is 17I. So Z2 is equal to 13 plus 17I. Make sure that the real part comes first, the imaginary part comes second. Z3 equals 5 over 2 plus 7 over 2I squared minus 5 over 2 plus 1 over 2I squared. So what I'm going to do is work out 5 over 2 plus 7 over 2I squared first. So anything squared means that thing multiplied by itself. So it's going to be 5 over 2 plus 7 over 2I multiplied by 5 over 2 plus 7 over 2I. So this multiplied by itself. So I have 2 eggs, so I'm going to crack open the first egg and bring down the 5 over 2 and stick on the second egg, and then bring down the 7 over 2I and stick on the second egg. Then I'm going to multiply out the brackets. And remember that when we're multiplying fractions, it's top by top, bottom by bottom. So 5 over 2 by 5 over 2 is 25 over 4. So 5 by 5 is 25, 2 by 2 is 4. Then 5 by 7 is 35, and 2 by 2 is 4. So you get 35 4I. Then 7 by 5 is 35, and 2 by 2 is 4. So we get 35 over 4I. And then 7 by 7 is 49, and 2 by 2 is 4, and I multiplied by I is I squared. So we get 49 over 4I squared. So then we bring down the 25 over 4, and 35 over 4I plus 35 over 4I will give you 70 over 4I. And then the I squared becomes minus 1 with brackets around it. Very, very important to put brackets around it. Bring down the 25 over 4. The 70 over 4 simplifies to 35 over 2I. And 49 over 4 multiplied by minus 1 is minus 49 over 4. So then what I'm going to do is work out 5 over 2 plus 1 over 2I squared. So again, anything squared is that thing multiplied by itself. So it becomes 5 over 2 plus a half I multiplied by 5 over 2 plus a half I. So this multiplied by itself. So again, I have 2 eggs. I'm going to crack open the first egg, bring down the 5 over 2, stick on the second set of brackets, bring down the half I, stick on the second set of brackets. So then 5 over 2 by 5 over 2 is 25 over 4, 5 by 5 is 25, 2 by 2 is 4. Then 5 over 2 by a half I is 5 over 4I, 5 by 1 is 5, 2 by 2 is 4, so 5 over 2I. Then a half I by 5 over 2 is 5 over 4I, 1 by 5 is 5, 2 by 2 is 4, and stick on the I, so 5 over 4I. And then a half I by a half I is a quarter I squared. So 1 by 1 is 1, 2 by 2 is 4, and I by I is I squared. Bring down the 25 over 4, and 5 over 4I plus 5 over 4I is 10 over 4I. And then the I squared becomes minus 1 with brackets around it. Very, very important that the minus 1 has brackets around it. Bring down the 25 over 4. 10 over 4 becomes 5 over 2 with the I stuck on. And a quarter times minus 1 is minus a quarter. Now don't forget we had a minus up here. So I'm going to multiply in the minus now. So I get minus 25 over 4. Minus by plus 5 over 2I is minus 5 over 2I. And a minus by minus is a plus a quarter. So I have 25 over 4 plus 35I minus 49 over 4 minus 25 over 4 minus 5 over 2I plus 1/4. So I bring these 6 terms down here, and then I'm going to simplify. So 25 over 4 and minus 25 over 4 will cancel each other out. 35 over 2i minus 5 over 2i gives you 30 over 2i. Minus 49 over 4 plus 1/4 gives us minus 48 over 4. 30 over 2 gives us 15, so we get 15i. And minus 48 divided by 4 is minus 12. But very, very important that we swap these around because we have to have the real part first. So we get Z3 equal to minus 12 plus 15i. Minus 12 being the real part, plus 15i being the imaginary part. Now what I could have done was multiplied in that minus at the start instead of down here, but I just wanted to show an example in the previous question where I multiplied in the minus up the top, and in this question where I've multiplied in the minus at the bottom. So either way will work. Also, I could have simplified these a little bit more before I brought them down here. I could have put the 25 over 4 and the minus 49 over 4 together, and I could have put the minus 25 over 4 and the 1/4 together as well. So either way will work out. So Z4 is equal to 1 plus I squared plus I cubed. Okay, so 1 can stay as it is and I can stay as it is for the moment. I squared we know is equal to minus 1. That's the definition of complex numbers. So I squared we just swap for a minus 1. I cubed can be rewritten as I squared multiplied by I to the power of 1. So we're using one of our laws of indices in reverse. One of our laws of indices is when we're multiplying powers with the same base, we add the powers. So if we have I squared multiplied by I to the power 1, the I is the base, so we have the same base. So multiplying powers with the same base, we add the powers. So 2 plus 1 would give us 3. So I squared multiplied by I to the power 1 would give us I to the power 3. So we're just using that law of indices in reverse. So I to the power of 3 will factorise to I squared times I to the power 1. I squared we can swap for minus 1 with brackets around it because we know that I squared is equal to minus 1. And I to the power 1 just stays as I. And minus 1 multiplied by I is minus I. So Z4 is equal to 1 plus I minus 1 minus I. And 1 minus 1 cancels, leaving us with 0. And I minus I cancels, leaving us with 0i. So Z4 is 0 plus 0i, which is also the origin.